Hello and welcome to Habit Nerd, a podcast show that knows that few things can have a more powerful impact on your life than improving your daily systems, habits, and mindset. I'm your host, Dr. Bree Hearn, a multi-passionate researcher, lecturer, speaker, and coach. Once a perfectionist who was always busy but not necessarily effective, I overcame illness and burnout and am now obsessed with sharing the science and systems for working with efficiency and habits for abundant health in your mind and your body. Each week, my guests and I share stories and lessons backed by research. So let's buckle up and dive straight into today's empowering conversation. Hello, Habit Nerds, and welcome back to another episode of the Habit Nerd podcast. I'm thrilled to have you joining me again today. Now, something we're going to talk about is 8 things that 85 years of research tells us are absolutely fundamental, crucial, essential to be happy. Now, here at the Habit Nerd, as you know, we are research informed. So today's work comes from the longest in-depth longitudinal study on human life that has ever been done. It's called the Harvard Study of Adult Development, and since 1938, this study has been investigating what makes people flourish. So back in 1938, it started with 724 participants. Then the study incorporated the spouses of these original participants, and then more recently, more than 1,300 descendants of the initial group have been included in the study. Now, the researchers periodically interview their participants. They ask them to fill out questionnaires and they collect information about things like their physical health. The study directors have been able to watch these participants fall in and out of relationships, find success and failure at their jobs, and become mothers and fathers. So, Habit Nerds, I'm here to tell you the findings that have just been published on what are the 8 things that in 2024 going into 2025 we can learn from this huge study, and what are some simple practices that we might put in place to help us have these 8 things in our lives. Because remember, Habit Nerds, you are your most important project. So, number 1, and maybe not surprisingly that we'll start here, is that physical health is essential to happiness. So even if this is all you take from this episode, this first learning, establish a good sleep routine maybe. Perhaps you could get some movement every day, even starting with a 15-minute walk. Maybe drink your 6 to 8 glasses of water, for example. So our number 1 thing to learn from the study on happiness is that physical health is absolutely crucial. Number 2 is that loneliness is as dangerous to your health as smoking. Chronic isolation makes happiness impossible. So it's important to make an effort to be around people. Think about booking in a weekly family dinner, or maybe you could join a local group or club, or even volunteer in your local community or a local school. Number 3 finding from this massive longitudinal study is that it is crucial to use social media wisely. Now, I myself get a huge amount from Instagram and from LinkedIn in a business sense to help me connect with my new followers and to be able to grow my reach. I like being able to keep up with extended family and school friends via social media. But social media is also a breeding ground for comparison, for feelings of regret and resentment, and in a lot of cases, the connections aren't genuine. So some tips for wise social media use are setting a daily limit for yourself and commenting meaningfully on posts that your friends put up. Now, number 4, learning from this study on happiness is that money has its limits. Now, beyond the basics that ensure financial security, more money doesn't necessarily equal more happiness. To increase your abundance in this area, this financial area, practice gratitude for what you already have. Spend your money on making memories and experiences with your loved ones. Or you could even set up a giving fund for a charity that's meaningful to you. This time of year at Christmas, I find it meaningful and I can increase my sense of abundance by donating to charities like Share the Dignity and also to donating gift cards for vulnerable families so that they can purchase food and gifts and things that they need for their families. Number 5 key learning is that quality relationships have a direct correlation to happiness. A couple of deep connections beats lots of shallow ones, so less is actually more. It suggested that we invest in important relationships. Maybe you could try and open up for a heart-to-heart with a close friend. You could write a letter or could leave a voice note to someone that you care about, or plan a one-on-one outing with somebody that you love. I'm not at all surprised by this one because I know my cup feels full when I've caught up with a treasured friend, even if it has been months between seeing them and the last time that we've been together. Now, the 6th key learning from this study on human happiness is that maybe surprisingly, introverts can thrive. People who are introverted can absolutely experience happiness. The study showed that small supportive circles are enough. So if you do identify as an introvert, you can be happy by having maybe a weekly game night with some very close friends, starting a book club with 1 or 2 other people, or even connecting in an online community with people who share an interest that is the same as yours. The number 7 learning from this longitudinal study on human happiness is that living and working with purpose is motivating, and that being motivated leads to happiness. So I know, for example, this podcast makes me happy because my purpose of helping others by communicating research to make their lives better is being realized. You might like to tap into your own sense of meaning and purpose by writing down some goals, by mentoring somebody else, or, like me, start a passion project that impacts others in a positive way. And Habit Nerds, the final learning from the happiness study, so number 8, is that you can grow your happiness, so you can get happier at any age. Many people find joy later in life, so take this finding as encouragement and inspiration to learn a new skill or find a new hobby. Maybe reconnect with an old friend or plan to travel to a place you've always wanted to visit. So there you go, Habit Nerds. 85 years of research with thousands of people across their lifespans is fairly credible evidence. A quick recap for you. Number 1, invest in your physical health. Avoid being lonely and isolated. Use social media wisely. That money can only make you happy to a point. Quality relationships, even 1 or 2, are fundamental, and introverts can also experience happiness with quality interactions with just 1 or 2 other people. That finding meaning and purpose in your work correlates with happiness. And lastly, it's never too late to increase your own level of happiness. So, Habit Nerds, let me know which of the 8 you might try and level up. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you over at The Habit Nerd on Instagram. Thank you for tuning into this episode of The Habit Nerd. I hope you found some new inspiration, learned something new, or gained a fresh perspective. If you did enjoy the episode, I would be really grateful if you could please leave a 5-star review, as it helps the show get in the ears of new listeners, plus it should only take you 5 seconds. If you're keen for more tips and insights, then head over to Instagram and follow Habit Nerd.